Abortion is not just the greatest example of human sacrifice in terms of how it's done and why it's done, right? In order to get a blessing in return, improve your own life, right? Live a little bit longer. But in the numbers, it's the greatest example applicably, but it's also the greatest example numerically. There is no other example of more human beings being sacrificed than abortion. And we kill about 50 million babies a year worldwide, over 65 million since 1973 in America. So I want to talk about this. At the consecration of the Temple Mayor in Tenochtitlan, okay, in 1487, the Aztecs ritually slaughtered 4,000 people. There are accounts of this, okay? There are people who watched this happen. Sliced their hearts out, lifted it up to the sky to honor these Aztec alleged deities, just demons, right? While the heart was still beating. Then they would kick the bodies of their victims down the towering steps of the temple. And these sacrifices were done in large, obviously in that example, and small numbers throughout the year to reverse drought and famine, was the belief, of course. So the rationale for Aztec human sacrifice was first and foremost a matter of survival. They believed that it was required, okay? According to Aztec cosmology, the sun god, okay, now this is a mouthful, okay, you've got to look up the pronunciation, but this is one of the two major Aztec deities, which are demons masquerading as little idols, okay? The sun god, pronounced Huitzilopochtli, was waging a constant war against darkness. That was the belief. He was the sun god. And if the darkness won, the world would end, okay? So to keep the sun moving across the sky and preserve their very lives, the Aztecs had to feed Huitzilopochtli with human hearts and blood. Am I the only one seeing similarities to our current cultural and political moment? So a sun god demanded human sacrifice, or else the world would be plunged into darkness and everyone would die. That is the identical call from secular liberals today who demand the necessity of abortion to curb overpopulation, which they claim causes climate change, which will plunge us into a cold darkness and everyone will die. Right? AOC saying several years ago, what'd she say? We have 10 years or something like that. We have 10 years to get climate change under control, or there's not going to be an Earth anymore. And of course, atheists have been making these claims for years. It's never, of course, happened. Their prophecies have never come fulfilled. And most climate activists say they are concerned with the overpopulation crisis and therefore suggest that people have fewer children to conserve environmental resources. So therefore, they say abortion is actually also a part of what they call environmental justice, right? They put the word justice onto everything, right? Racial justice, reproductive justice, environmental justice. It's obviously such BS, right? There's justice and there's injustice, right? If you have to qualify the word justice, you actually don't know what justice is. But why should that surprise us? These are people who murder babies and call it healthcare. So they're saying, hey, we're just going to have to kill some people to save the planet. Or if we don't, then Huitzilopochtli will get angry and the sun will cease to shine and move across the sky and we'll be plunged into a cold, cold darkness and we'll all die. It's the same thing, but it's done under the veneer of politics. It's done under the veneer of false compassion, and people go along with it and they accept the lie. Of course, this is incredibly ironic, right? They're saying the future generations deserve to live in a healthy, clean, and sustainable planet. And to ensure this future for our posterity, we're going to have to murder a lot of future generations. What? You're saying we have to upend our lives and sacrifice for the health and wealth and sustainability of our posterity by murdering our posterity. No, that it doesn't work that way, okay? What are some examples of this, by the way, today? There's a climate activist named Astra Taylor. She's done a documentary. She's a far left progressive, Astra Taylor, who wrote a piece in The Guardian in 2019. And she literally claimed, quote, climate breakdown is a violation of the rights of those yet to be born. The same claim, right? That we're harming future generations, those yet to be born, through our irresponsible handling of, the environment and climate change, climate control, right? However, Astra Taylor is rabidly pro-abortion. So according to Astra Taylor and the folks at The Guardian, future generations matter so much that we must upend our lives and our rights in order to create a sustainable climate for them, but also the next generation has no right to life in the womb. Wait. You can't have it both ways. You can't appeal to the dignity of the individual, of those yet to be born, to demand that we sacrifice for their good and their rights, while also claiming that actually the next generation has no right to life in the womb because they're not persons. Bernie Sanders is popular for doing this as well. You might remember this a couple years ago. Bernie Sanders was asked about overpopulation and what they call climate catastrophe, right? They always have a new term, in a September 2019 climate change town hall, okay? And the Vermont senator said the U.S. ought to provide funding for abortion and contraception, quote, in poor countries, end quote, in poor countries. So, okay, pause, listen. So he's linking the climate catastrophe to abortion. This event, this town hall was not about abortion. It wasn't about healthcare. It wasn't about any other euphemism they could tangentially relate to abortion. It was about overpopulation and primarily climate catastrophe. Okay, the climate, that we can't piss off the sun god, right? Huitzilopochtli is very angry, right? And his answer was, we need to fund abortion and contraception in poor countries, okay? We must feed Huitzilopochtli. He's angry. He's so angry. Do you start to sense maybe some of the demonic hysteria that is actually operative behind these individuals and these movements and this industry? Why is it that the arguments are so similar to Aztec genocidal, infanticidal human sacrifice demons? It's always interesting too, right? They never start with themselves. Like, hey, Bernie, start with yourself then. Why don't you just volunteer to be killed, right? No. It always has to be someone else that should be killed to solve the alleged manufactured problem of overpopulation.